Welcome to the Shifting with Marlee podcast. I'm Marlee. Thank you for joining me wherever you are. All that I ask of you, the listener, is to have an open mind and an open heart. And in return, I offer you myself. Today, we're going to talk about how to navigate chaos. Because I felt we could all use a dose of hope and inspiration. We live in unprecedented times for so many reasons. And that means chaos. That means change. That means instability and overwhelm. We are living through the end of one world and the birth of another. And we are between worlds. And even though our souls chose to incarnate on earth during these times of chaos, change, and transition, it can still be really challenging, really difficult and jarring to our human and ego selves. It can still shake us and destabilize us. And it's also really easy to slip into despair at the state of the world. So it's my intention that this episode help shift our perspective to hope, optimism, and faith in the new world that's forming. And also to provide tips and tools for the chaos of the transition period that we find ourselves in. We first started this conversation back in 2022 in episode 22, Hope in Times of Chaos, where I shared my dueling scientific and spiritual perspectives and how to connect with our imagination and creativity. But I felt it was important to revisit this and expand on this topic now because it's felt like the chaos in the world has only increased exponentially since 2022. But at the same time, it now feels like we are at a breaking point. And in that breaking, there is fertile ground. It feels like we are standing at a precipice, which also means it's a time of infinite potential. Humanity is yearning for a better world. The tides are shifting. People are waking up. Everything that was once hidden beneath the surface is coming up to the light now to be seen and witnessed. All the cards are on the table now, and it's up to us where we go from here. This may be difficult to hear, but all the chaos in the world right now is mirroring to us where we still need to heal. We are being shown our wounds very clearly. The wounds that are in the collective are within each of us as well, as within, so without. We are being shown everything that is not in alignment with truth and love. We are being shown all the places that are lacking love. Here are just some of the wounds that are being mirrored to us in these chaotic times. Wounded masculine and wounded feminine. Separation and division. Us versus them. Victim consciousness and victim mentality. Control. Judgment. Externalization of our power. Savior complex, thinking someone is coming to save us. Ego. The witch wound. Dishonesty. Internalized patriarchy. Internalized capitalism. White supremacy and supremacy culture. Sexism and misogyny. Racism. Hatred. Overconsumption. Consumerism. Greed. Vanity. Lack of accountability. Celebrity and idol worship. And the list goes on. Our shadows are coming up to the surface to be seen. We need to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves. The good news is the first step on the healing journey is awareness. And the beautiful news is when we heal these wounds within ourselves, we heal them for the collective and the world. As Sia Lanu Estrella says, the greatest way you can help others is to do the work on yourself. That's the work. That's our focus, to do the inner work and inner healing for ourselves and for the world. So in that way, the pathway through the outer chaos is partially an inside job and internal journey. And in this way, we can be empowered that we each have an impact and we each have power over the direction moving forward. We each can make a big, big difference. We also each have power over ourselves. Our life force, our energy, our time, and our focus and attention are our sacred currencies. We each have a choice of how and where we give these away. Where we place our attention and focus is a choice we each have each and every day. We can choose to focus on the chaos, or we can choose to focus on the new world we are building. We each have that power. Please hear me when I say we are not powerless. And a reminder to regularly disconnect from it all and rest often and replenish and nourish yourself, because we can't commit to the healing work or build a new world from an empty or only half-filled cup. And then I want to bring our attention to the fact that we also need to learn to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Chaos and change are inherently uncomfortable. As humans, we tend to make it harder on ourselves because we cling to the familiar, even if the familiar doesn't truly serve our highest and greatest good. There is this false sense of safety and security in the familiar. And the unfamiliar and unknown tends to feel unsafe and activate our fight or flight nervous system response. So then the question is, how can we get more comfortable with change and the unknown? I think the first step is tending to our nervous systems. That's a daily practice. And it means prioritizing things like rest, meditation, stillness, quiet, breath work, sound healing, therapy, hugs from people we love, massages, yoga, journaling, reading, being in nature, walking outside, taking breaks from our phones and social media and the news. Basically, whatever calming practices work for you. Tending to our nervous systems will help us develop that internal sense of safety and peace, regardless of what's going on in the outside world. And then the next step to getting more comfortable with change and the unknown is presence. Because a lot of our fear and worry and anxiety comes from worrying about the future. And presence is the antidote to that. Dropping into the body can help. And then also bringing awareness to your breath and taking some deep, conscious breaths can help bring you back to the present moment. And then a practice that's really been helpful to me lately is tapping my collarbone and saying out loud, I am here. These are simple and quick practices to help you get out of your mind and into the present moment. There's also 2 visuals that I want to share with you that I keep coming back to that I find helpful for navigating chaos. The first is visualizing yourself as a tree, standing tall with deep roots into the earth. The wind, which is the chaos in the world, is blowing strong and fierce all around you. But you, as the strong and deeply rooted and centered tree, simply sway gently in the wind, and you do not break. I think this visual not only helps us stay calm and centered amidst chaos, but it's also a reminder to ground into the earth, which is another important key to presence and nervous system support. And then the second visual I keep coming back to is that of a boat in stormy waters. The boat is being rocked by the storm and the waves, and you're there on the boat, but you're floating just above the boat, hovering and looking down. You can still feel the rocking, but it doesn't make you unsteady. Instead, you're dancing with the storm and currents, in flow with them. And from your vantage point, just above the boat, it's more gentle. You're not fighting against the currents, but dancing with them. This visual is a beautiful reminder to not fight against the chaos, but to dance with it. And it's also a reminder that even in these wild, stormy, chaotic, unprecedented times, we can still dance. We can still laugh. We can still play. We can still find joy and connection. These are essential to get us through. As Sia Lanu Estrella says, there is nothing to fear. Over time, these shifts become easier and easier. If the process triggers fear or resistance, bring yourself back to your heart. Trust and reconnect with your sovereignty. And connect with other brothers and sisters on earth. When you realize you are not alone, there is a lot of laughter to be shared. We are all moving through this together. Although it can feel intense, it is also joyful and exciting. Let yourself laugh at the craziness of it. After all, we signed up for this. We signed up for this. Our souls each chose to be here now on earth in this time of chaos and transition, which means we are fully capable of handling these times. And I think we could all use the reminder that everything unfolding on earth in our personal lives and in the world is for our growth and evolution. From a higher level perspective, everything is ultimately for our highest and greatest good. But trust me, I know it's difficult to understand that and see that from here on the ground in the 3D physical reality. When we are witnessing and experiencing the collapse of the world we've known and the collapse of the systems and structures that have been familiar, it can be really scary and triggering and cause a lot of fear and doubt and suffering and be difficult to understand. Because from the ego's perspective, everything is falling apart. But from a higher level perspective, from our soul's perspective, it's also all coming together for our highest and greatest good. Both perspectives are true. And again, everything that is out of alignment ultimately needs to collapse and break down and fall apart, so that we can build the new that is in alignment. And in that way, the collapse is for our highest and greatest good, even though it's uncomfortable. As Marianne Williamson says, we're living in two worlds at the same time. One, the fall of Rome, and the other, a new renaissance. We need to be both death doulas and birth doulas, helping die peacefully the systems that need to die, and helping give birth to a wholly different kind of world. A beautiful reminder that we are living through both a death and rebirth process, and we have to hold space for both. And that's not easy. On those days you find yourself in fear and doubt, I highly recommend tuning into your spirit team and the unseen realms for help and comfort and guidance. Talk to them, ask for what you need, They are always working behind the scenes in our favor. They are always there 24/7 to help us. Lean into that trust that you are being supported and guided. Leaning into that trust can help build that internal safety needed to get us through. And then also take comfort in the earth. Turn to the earth and her beauty. There is still beauty in the chaos. The earth is still here, holding us and supporting us through the chaos. Take comfort in that. And through the chaos and death and rebirth process, we're going to need to hold space for multiple perspectives. On one end of the spectrum, we need to grieve and mourn for the world that is collapsing and all that is being lost in that death process. At the same time, we also need to be the neutral observers and witnesses to the collapse. And also at the same time, we need to step into our sovereignty and co-creative powers to build the new world and really tap into our creation powers. It's all happening at once, and it's beautiful and difficult, and we are all so capable. You are capable. We are capable. As part of the death process and the collapse, we also need to learn to let go of labels and let go of the labels of good and bad, because that is part of the old paradigm of duality. And the truth is, we can't know how everything is coming together. So that means practicing non-attachment and non-judgment, and letting go of analysis and victimhood, and learning to stay present and allow the unfolding. And that also means, as part of the rebirth process, to allow for creation and manifestation without expectations and without attachment to outcomes. That means trusting the process, friends. It's also going to be exceedingly important through this process to build community and rely on community. That's something we can each tangibly work on every day, creating community. Through community, we can create our own pockets of peace and stability and safety in the chaos. And at the same time, building resiliency. Resiliency through community is the future. Through community, we can also begin to build the new world and plant the seeds of the new earth. So focus your attention on building community. When it comes to building the new world, it's also going to be exceedingly important to tune inward and build and strengthen your own intuition, your psychic abilities, your trust in yourself and your channel, because these are the foundations needed to bring forward the new world. We each have gifts and pieces of the puzzle to build the new world. We each have something to bring to the table, whether that's a new technology, an idea, a new perspective, new concept, new energy, whatever it is. It's going to come through us, through our voice, through our service, through our art, and in order to be clear channels for whatever wants to come through us. Those foundations and trust need to be strong. All of this to say, what a time to be alive at the end of one world and the birth of another. There's a lot of work to do, friends. And we don't need to wait for anyone else or any government or the quote unquote end of the chaos to get started. It's all happening now. It's all here now. It's all available now. We are all part of this. We are each important and powerful and needed. We all have many roles to play in this death and rebirth process. I'll end today with my prayer and intention for these chaotic times. May the chaos lead to transformation. May we meet the chaos with love. May we call back our power where we've given it away and stand in our power as sovereign beings. May any blocks be cleared. May we each heal our wounds and integrate the lessons gently. And may the healing ripple out for the greatest good of all. May we release all that no longer serves us gently and with ease. May we find peace and safety within. May we move forward with love and compassion for all. And may the new world and new earth be birthed through us in alignment with our highest and greatest good and for the highest and greatest good of all. So it is, so it shall be.